O Light HS2. Now, I've had this thing for several months now. Now, as you can see on the box that it comes in, the HS2 is 400 lumens. Now, that's 400 lumens on max. So that's something to bear in mind. Now, the different thing about the HS2 is it's a solid state battery. In other words, it has a battery that is attached to it, and it's something that you cannot switch out. You know, it's not like the typical lithium ion battery where, you know, like the DL123s or the 1864s, where you can pull it out and recharge it. This is solid state. So once this thing dies, you're done. It's a dead battery. And I'll go into more detail as to why I think that's a negative here in a couple minutes. Now, if you stay on maximum, according to their information, you get about 2 hours and some pocket change on max. If you're only using the minimum, which, let's face it, you're not going to be just using the minimum. If you did, you'd get 18 hours of light out of that, but that's not really realistic because that's not how you're going to run your light. It is waterproof up to IPX4, so that's a good deal. So if you're out in the snow, the rain, all that, you're not going to have a problem. I would not, however, submerge it. Okay, you're going to have a dead light. So according to the box, this weighs 4.1 ounces. And that's one of the positives about this thing, that it's so freaking light. Now, I'm going to weigh it out with my scale here in a second, and we'll see if that is correct, if it is 4.1 ounces. Well, I thought I was going to call him a liar and say it weighed 4.3, but it actually does weigh 4.1 ounces. So it is spot on the weight. Now, you'll see it comes with a little bit of componentry in with it. So we'll look at the componentry before we actually get into the light. You have essentially a light charger. This is what's going to attach to the actual light itself, and then you can plug it to various outlets. And you have these little clips. Now, these are for the side of the headlamp, so that they kind of keep the cords out of your way. So they're basically just cord keepers. And we have a little manual. So gives you lots of different things that explains about the light, different specifications and whatnot. You have the same thing on the back. All right, let's look at this headlamp. It's got O Light stamped on the battery back here. Now, it actually comes in a couple of parts, and you have to put it together. But if you pull it apart here, this part is loose, and then there's this part. This is just like a micro USB connector that connects the battery to this switch. Now, it's obviously the button for turning it on, and you can see how small this headlamp is. I mean, this thing is freaking tiny, not very big, which makes it great for running and a lot of outdoor stuff where, you know, you want to have the lightest gear possible, adventure racing, orienteering, that kind of stuff. One thing that bear in mind though is you are dealing with this solid state battery. You know, obviously with most headlamps, you'll have a cylinder or a container that you put batteries in. You know, once those batteries die or get weak, you can take them out, recharge them, and throw other batteries in. With this is all you've got. Now, I know there are a lot of really good reviews of this headlamp online for the HS2 by O Light. Problem is, almost every single one of the people who reviewed this thing didn't have it for very long. They only had it for a couple of weeks, did very limited trials, and more importantly, they were sent the headlamp by O Light. Now, I was not sent this headlamp by O Light. I bought this on Amazon. Bought it in November, like the very beginning of November, late October, November. So I've had this for about 4 months and I've been using it. So my experience with it is 4 months of actually using the headlamp for a multiplicity of things, and it's just my experience with it. Bottom line is, if I'm going to use a headlamp, I'm going to use it on max. I am not going to use, the 200 lumen mode. I'm just not going to do it. I want as much light as I can possibly get. If you're hiking and you're out on the trail, you don't want to see just a little bit of the trail. You want to see the whole trail. So you're gonna blast it on max. If you're out orienteering or adventure racing or doing some other sport that you're doing at night, you want the most amount of light that you can get, not the minimum amount of light. Okay? That being the case, it's not going to last very long. Okay, I don't want a headlamp that I'm just getting 200 lumens out. If I just want a headlamp for 200 lumens, there are even smaller, lighter headlamps that I can get that only have 200 lumens as their max, and those will have replaceable batteries. So once again, this isn't exactly a review to say how great this is. I think it's a good headlamp, don't get me wrong. I just don't think it has enough battery power to be an efficient backpacking light. I think if this battery would last, I don't know, if this were a 6-hour battery for this headlamp, that would be saying something. And I'm talking about 6 hours at 400 lumens. That would be saying something. Because you're probably not going to be backpacking more than a half hour to an hour at night, but it would be nice to have that safety. Well, let's go over some of the modes of the HS2. Now, I'm going to do one click, and yes, it's pretty bright. 2 clicks, and it's dim. Now, those are 2 single clicks. Let's go a double click. And the headlamp on the right has dimmed to it's blank. And you see how bright this one is on the left. It's brightening. It's brightened up into a flood. Now let's blink 3 times. It was strobe mode. Back to bright. Now I clicked it twice and the right one is now bright. It's actually very bright. It gets a little bit of a clearer light than the one on the left. Dim it. And dim to a stop. You have multiple modes with the HS2. Once again, both at once on bright, both at once dimmed, and then I can switch from the bright on the left to the bright on the right. Now, that's left and right as you're wearing it. You can switch them back and forth, brighten one, the other one is completely dark, and back and forth. So there are your different brightness settings. Okay, now if we look at the back, we can see a button that's recessed, that's rubberized. See 4 little dots and a little boot that you pop out, and you can see the little micro USB for plugging it in so you can recharge it. Now let's press the button, and you can see 1, 2, 3 of these are charged. So do it again because it doesn't last very long. So you can see that it's got 3/4 of a charge in this battery. So I can go a little bit more. Now, one thing that you'll notice right here, there are 3 little dots. Now, this is the interesting thing, and this is actually one of the things that I don't like about this headlamp. These 3 little dots allow noise to come out. And what happens is, When this battery is dead and it's on 1 dot or less, it starts making a beep noise. Beep, beep, beep. Well, the closer it gets to being dead, it goes beep, 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 and it drives you freaking nuts. Basically, if this battery is dying, you're making all kind of noise. Now, if you're going to use this for, say, a hunting application or something like that, I would suggest making sure that it's completely charged, because you don't want to be, setting up your camp or going out to your tree stand in the wee hours of the morning, waiting for the sun to come up so you can start hunting, deer hunting, for example, and then this starts making all kinds of little beeping noise, and it will drive you nuts. With this battery being so light and so comfortable, it's easy to wear. So that's why I keep this with my truck. This is a great headlamp for around the house, around your vehicle, any place where you have access to power. I have my laptop, and I have the headlamp. Plug it in, and then take the other side. And you can also charge it by battery pack. That's kind of nice. Thing is, this isn't something that you necessarily would take on the trail. You can, but this weighs quite a bit, and this is actually one of the smaller batteries. So this is one of the things you need to think about. My truck is running right now. You can probably hear it, and that gives it juice and power to be able to charge this headlamp. I think this is a very versatile headlamp. I really like it, but to be honest, I don't think this is one where, if you're going to be out in the woods for days at a time, that you really need to use. It's got limitations, and like I said, the limitations are its power source. This is a very small battery. I mean, this battery isn't much bigger than a standard camera battery. This is a very small headlamp, very light. Like I said, it weighs 4.1 ounces, which is awesome. But once this is done, once this is shot, you're done. You can't replace the battery. You have to be able to plug it into your vehicle, plug it into the battery pack, or plug it into a laptop. If you're not carrying that extra equipment with you on your trip, but if you're doing something that needs to be lightweight and carry the most minimal gear possible, I would not suggest this headlamp for that activity. You're going to need something that is able to give you light for a longer period of time. I would not suggest this O Light product. The HS2 is a great light, maybe for some runners who are running early in the morning or late at night. This will be a great thing for them. It's perfect for a vehicle light because you can charge it at any time. But one thing to remember, as I keep saying and I keep harping on this is all you have. Okay? This is what you're carrying. If you want to carry that extra battery pack, you might as well go with a different light that has more lumens and that you can carry an extra battery with. This is my review on the HS2 by O Light. It's a great little light. It can get you where you need to go if you're going in short bursts.